So now Thomas Frank has a dilemma, but what a dilemma to have after a 4-0 win in the Big Cup. I cannot think of many times Spurs have so comprehensively dismantled a side in Europe's biggest competition. So what is that dilemma? Well, for me, it's does he stick or twist at home to Manchester United on Saturday? Does Frank stick with his Premier League double pivot of Palhinha and Bentancur and hope to stodge it up to victory against United again as we did in the Europa League final? Or does he take the handbrake off like he did last night and keep Palhinha on the bench, risking conceding goals, but also potentially lighting up the stadium by getting on the front foot and making chance after chance? I'll be discussing this and all of Thomas Frank's post-Copenhagen quotes in today's show. Guys, thanks so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Do press that like button. Do press subscribe if you're not already subscribed for daily Tottenham Hotspur news. And of course, as I'm sure you can tell, we have a new sponsor, okjersey.com. They do sell the best current and retro shirts at great prices. Scan the QR code on the left. And if you fancy buying something, do put in the code BARN, B-A-R-N, short for Barnaby, in the coupon box when you get to checkout, and you can have 8% off. How are you guys all feeling after last night's victory? It's a bit of a glow, isn't it? Spurs, as I've been talking about all season, I'm expecting this year to be like Pochettino's first season, ups and downs and ups and downs, and that's how it feels. But it is possible, I think, last night that he stumbled across something that he can use at home to get the supporters on side. It really was a magnificent performance, and look, we're all absolutely raving about Mickey van der Ven's goal this morning, and rightly so. For me, the greatest goal ever scored by a centre-half, not just Tottenham. I cannot think of anything else. Can you think of anything in the comments? If you can, put them in the comments. Any centre-back that you've ever seen score as good a goal as that in football, certainly in kind of video recorded times. I cannot think of any. So if you can, if you've got any ideas, do let me know in the comments box, and definitely willing to discuss it. But also, not just that goal, it was the rounded performance. It was the attacking thought process, basically, the attacking mindset. And then also, when going down to 10 men after Brennan Johnson sending off, the ability to then defend a bit deeper and then pick them off on the break and use a bit of kind of what I call like open leg pace. We've got some pace in the team. It's just, it's not often like I mentioned in a video earlier this week, it's not like Aaron Lennon-esque, although Wilson Odobert, I think, probably had his best game in a Spurs shirt yesterday. And coming off that left, he utilised his pace really nicely as well. But really, like the likes of Brennan Johnson, when he's got space to run into, he's super quick. It's just that there aren't that many games at the moment, certainly, where we're playing in the kind of way that allows him to run into space, or that we're playing against opposition who are willing to give him the space to run into. But that first goal set up beautifully by Xavi Simons, who, again, another player who had his best game in a Spurs shirt yesterday and was unlucky to be taken off when Brennan Johnson got sent off. But that beautiful assist for Johnson's first goal. And he is an elite finisher, Johnson. He really is. But it's about, can we get him in those positions more regularly? Because in reality, when he's not finishing and when he's not kind of getting to the byline, he's a good crosser as well most of the time. He's not involved in the game enough. But I said it during probably my post-match review last night, certainly in the watch-along, I would love against Man United to see a front three of Kudus, Kolo Muani and Odobert with Xavi Simons in behind, and potentially us playing, again, maybe Bentancur and Sarr in that kind of more forward-thinking midfield. We would give up more chances, that's for sure, but I just think it's our best opportunity to get the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium rocking by getting on the front foot, by trying to push the opposition back, not just trying to hold on for something and try and nick something on the set piece. And I wonder if Thomas Frank is starting to realise that now after all the talk from the Chelsea game, which was just so disappointing. And this is my overall thing. I think I said it last night, but it's really the thing that I'm going to be grabbing onto most in the next few days, is if we're going to end up losing at home anyway, like we did to Bournemouth, like we did to Villa, like we did to Chelsea, by trying to be more pragmatic, trying to be more tight, trying to not concede goals and trying to nick a win on the set piece, then we might as well, if we're going to lose those games anyway, we might as well lose by being a little bit more forward-thinking in central midfield. This does go against what I've been saying most of the season, which I've been worried about him not playing Bentancur and Palhinha together, because every time he's taken one of them off in a game, it's kind of ruined our shape and we've lost control, or any control if we had of a game. But last night it seemed different. And last night it kind of showed me that I think we can be a little more forward thinking in that midfield, and still we're defending better. And because what I saw yesterday was Pedro Porro was often making up kind of the third man as three centre-backs when we didn't have the ball or when we were in build-up. And therefore, that allowed us, I think, to play Bentancur as the six with Sarr and Simons in front of him, because he used Porro as having a little bit more stability back. So for me, I'm sure all the Spurs fans right now will be praying that Thomas Frank sticks to that and maybe plays the same team or that same team, but with Kudus hopefully coming back in against Man United on Saturday. But let me know what you think in the comments. Really interesting thing, because obviously a lot of people say, well, it was only FC Copenhagen, they play in a Farmers League. But FC Copenhagen have taken a lot of big Champions League teams to difficult games. And they play in the Champions League every single year. Not many teams beat them 4-0. So it was a good result. And especially at home, where, yes, our European form at home is decent, but our form this season at home has been woeful, absolutely woeful. So that was definitely different. And now it's Wednesday and we play again Man United in the early game on Saturday. And for me, keep the momentum up. Go at them. Absolutely go at them. Yes, that might suit them a little bit in the way they want to play, to try and pick us off with the likes of Cunha supplying the bullets for Mbeumo and Sesko. But also, Man United are just as shaky confidence-wise as Spurs can be. So if we can kind of get on top of them, and don't forget, we beat them, what was it, 3 times last season? 4? 3 times last season, including in the Europa League, then maybe we can, get on top of them early and make them feel like this is a hoodoo they can't break. Anyway, Thomas Frank did his post-match press conference last night. Ali Gold, who if you don't follow or subscribe to, make sure you do. He has a great YouTube channel where he does these really brilliant long YouTube videos every week. So make sure you subscribe to that and also follow him on Twitter. But Ali Gold put up the press conference last night. So I'm just going to read some of these quotes and give you my thoughts on them. He was asked, have you ever seen a better goal scored by a defender? He said, I definitely need to think about that a little bit. But it seems like we had Lionel Messi turn into Mickey van der Ven, roaring down from his own goal all the way to the other end and scoring that fantastic goal. I think he's our top scorer in all competitions, so he can keep going. He can keep walking past me if he's angry after a game. So good to see Thomas Frank lightly taking the piss out of what happened at the weekend after the Chelsea game. And yeah, like I said at the top, unbelievable from Mickey van der Ven. I'll be honest with you, when I first saw him opening his legs to try and take on the entire FC Copenhagen team, I was like, Mickey, I'm worried about your hamstrings, don't do it. But then once I saw him break through, I did kind of immediately think, I wonder if this could be like Sonny's goal. I wonder if this could be like Van der Ven at Old Trafford last year, where he just ran the length of the pitch and then crossed it for Brennan Johnson to score. And then the equally most impressive part of it, as well as the pace and the power, was his composure in the finish. He spoke afterwards, Mickey, about how he used to be a striker. Unbelievable composure, frankly, composure that the likes of Richarlison could learn from, just to then curl it into the near post, but with such pace as well. He is an absolutely elite finisher, Mickey van der Ven. And I'll tell you this, Vinay and the Tottenham board will be absolutely livid that they didn't sign him up to that new contract before last night, because I think he'll put on another 10 or 20 grand a week in his request for that new contract. But Spurs, sign him up. You've got a Rolls Royce on your hands. And fair play to Thomas Frank, who I think is doing brilliantly in keeping him fit and training him in a way that isn't, so far, touch wood, destroying his hamstrings. Frank was asked, what did he make of the red card? He said, I think I can understand why it would be given. I think it's a little bit what I've talked about before, that the still footage, the stud on the leg, is what the ref sees first thing. I agree with that. I said that during the watch along on BigUp, actually. The first thing they show the referee is the still footage of Johnson's stud up against the kind of Achilles of the opposition player. And that's not really the most important part of what happened in that challenge. The most important part is, Johnson is stretching for the ball. And you could say, at 2-0 up, does he need to do that? But he's trying to show his willing and his commitment. So I don't have a problem with that. And then his leg just kind of bounces up off the turf. And that's what pushes his studs, the studded part of his boot into the Achilles. It's not malicious by any means. Anyway, Frank went on to say that's where it looks bad. There was no recklessness in this tackle from Brennan. He goes down into a sliding tackle. You can say, why give the opportunity? But when he goes down, there's literally no leg in front of him. So when he slides, then the player steps down and it looks bad after that. I think it's a little bit unfortunate. I think it was harsh. And considering the challenges recently that Spurs have had against them, if you think of Joe Linton's scissor tackle on Mohamed Kudus in the Carabao Cup last week, and then was it Enzo? I think it was Enzo, was it? Who basically studded the knee of a Spurs player against Chelsea, and neither of them get given in the Premier League, but this gets given in the Champions League. You can see why they're probably feeling a little bit unlucky tonight. But you feel sorry for Brennan Johnson, because he got his goal. and he had some space to run into last night, but now he will be out, certainly of the next Champions League game, and I fear it might be 2 or 3 Champions League games because it was dubbed to be serious or deemed to be serious foul play. Thomas Frank said, do you finally see your attacking players gel tonight? He said, I think it was a real step forward. I like what I saw from Brennan. It was classic Brennan running in behind. And I really like the assist from Xavi Simons. Very good assist from Xavi. So happy that it was a goal from Brennan, assist from Xavi. I like bits from Wilson. And of course, he also scored. I think Kolo Muani looked like a handful. In many situations, he could easily have scored 1 or 2 goals maybe in the end. But I think all of them have much more to come. But it was definitely a step forward. I agree with that. Kolo Muani missed a couple of absolute sitters, frankly, gilt-edged chances. But for me, the more important thing is that he's fit, he's holding up the ball well, his link-up play is good, and he's getting in those positions. I think next time, if it comes in the Premier League and he gets a headed chance from 7 yards out like he did last night, he'll be heading it down. That's all you've got to think about as a striker in those situations. You've got to head it down. The first chance, I really feel like the defender was coming in late at him, and that kind of put him off and caused him to pull the shot just wide of the post. But overall, I think he had a really, really good performance, Randall Kolo Muani. And for me, he's miles ahead of Richarlison in terms of getting in the starting position right now. Thomas Frank was asked, what did you say to Xavi when he came off? He said, I don't know. I didn't say too much, I think. Of course, everyone wants to play, and you saw the opportunity to maybe play a little bit more. He saw the opportunity to play a little bit more. It's just at that point at 2-0, you don't really know. So I thought, okay, we'll go a little bit more defensive, swapping João Palhinha in. So that's why we did it. Xavi Simons did look upset to be coming off, but also I think that's good news for Man United on Saturday. He'll be fit and raring to go again, and I think he has to start in the 10. He did just look a lot more confident last night, Xavi Simons, in that 10 role with a more attacking player or attacking-minded player in Pat Matar alongside him in central midfield. But I think the key, and I was talking about this last night a lot, is the partnerships that are kind of forming between Udogie on the left, Xavi Simons coming to help in the inside left position, and Odobert. The three of them, with Kolo Muani helping as well, look really dynamic for Tottenham. That's something to actually get excited about. And that's why I said towards the top of this video, I'd love to see Kudus on the right, Odobert on the left with then Udogie, Xavi Simons all together there. I think that could be really exciting. Frank was asked this. Brennan Johnson was top scorer last season, 4 goals this season. What does he need to do to nail down a starting place? He said, I think he's now started 3 in the last 4. I think that's definite steps in the right direction. He played well against Everton, okay against Newcastle. It was rotation for Chelsea, and now he's starting again. So I think he's in a good place. And then Thomas Frank was asked about Jamie Carragher's comments, which he said he hadn't seen. And that Carragher had said, I think Spurs lacked courage, confidence, and ability against Chelsea. I just wanted, he was just asked, can Thomas give his assessment on that? He said, I didn't see his comment, so I don't have much to say about it. The pundits are pundits. They need to say something about the games. I've been a pundit myself sometimes. Put it this way, I know it's easier to be a pundit than to stand down here on the bench. I saw a good performance today, which I'm happy with. We talk a lot about how can you say that we had the bounce back mentality, because in life and football, there will be setbacks. Every team will experience that. It's how we react to it to come out after a bad game or a bad spell and come back to it. That is what makes a good team. I'm very happy with the response the players came with today. I think we controlled the game from minute 1 to the end, more or less. There was, of course, a little bit about the red card and making the side that should not be a problem. And then we had a very good win in the Champions League. It's never easy. I know Copenhagen hadn't had a good start, but I just know they are in general very difficult to play against. I'm pretty sure we'll not see them lose 4-0 again in the Champions League. So Thomas Frank, not being rude at all about Jamie Carragher. I think I agree with him, actually. Really important to bounce back well last night. Some might say, that was a good game to bounce back against, in terms of Copenhagen weren't exactly on the front foot. But also, they played a 4-4-2 defensively in a deep block, and we found ways to outdo them. I think much, again, has to be said about that left-hand side and causing them all sorts of trouble. And, of course, Spurs still have loads of injuries. I would actually add, for me, the most important thing is having Romero back and Udogie back. The balance and the ability to pass through the lines that gave us was absolutely massive. So on that front, hopefully they remain fit and we can get that team or something thereabouts for Manchester United. Before I go on to the rest of the video, guys, here's a little word from our sponsors.
Get yourself to okjersey.com, where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent Black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, Choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy.
Thanks, guys. Thomas Frank was asked, when you took off Xavi, Simons and brought on João Palhinha, was the master plan for Mickey to score and then Christian Romero to charge up the pitch and get an assist? He said, no, that's the beauty of football. The players take initiative and do a lot of bits on their own. So, yeah, of course, that's fantastic to have players doing that. I think that's an important thing to talk about a little bit, which is that shows that Thomas Frank is not telling his players, you have to sit back, you have to stay in shape. He's saying if there's an opportunity, if there's a transition, you go for it. You use your skills, you use your talent. And of course, we talked about Mickey van der Ven's brilliant goal, but also, yes, Romero bombing up and getting into that little inside left position into the box and then getting his head up and seeing that Palhinha was in a better position than he was on his correct foot. And also then Romero's ability to use his left foot to bend across around the final defender. Absolutely brilliant. And like I said, we just need to keep these players fit. We've shown, what we've really shown this season already is that when we have the players, we're able to do damage. Think about Man City away. Think about the Super Cup, right? Think about some of those results. Everton away, Leeds away. But when we have a few players out and we lose the balance and we lose the rhythm and the structure of the team because of injuries, we really struggle. And that's where I'm afraid to say, where Woolwich, having had 6 years under the same project, they've got to a place now where Mikel Arteta has got two players in every position that are pretty much as good as one another. And as a result, they just rotate and they bring them in. And Tottenham are not yet at that position. So we have to be patient with the manager. We have to be patient with the board to allow us to build up that strength. And it's going to take time, unfortunately. Frank was asked if you could expand. He was asked to expand a little bit more on Randall Kolo Muani in particular and what he did in the build-up towards Wilson Odebear's goal. Do you remember that? The ball kind of, he pressed the keeper and the clearance went off Kolo Muani and the ball went up. Snow on it, comes down. He just takes it down on his laces beautifully and sets up Odebear. Absolutely class. Thomas Frank said, I think he's taking steps in the right direction. He's getting more and more fit. I'll go as far as to say I don't think he's fully firing yet, but you can see he's such a handful to play against. That's such a good way of putting it. He is a proper handful. He's strong. He can hold it up, but also he's got lovely, lovely vision and flair just to touch it off every so often or take a beautiful touch on it. He went on to say the goal is a ball in behind where he just can't really control it, the defender, and he's practically on the goalkeeper. And then he shows extreme composure to just take the ball down and a nice assist for Wilson Odebear. He's through 2 or 3 times and could have scored. So I think he was a threat. Probably also should have scored on the header. Well, that's a bit of an understatement. But like I said, next time he will head it down. Frank was asked how important it was for the team to bounce back from Saturday. He said, I think, of course, it was important. You want your bad performance to get out of the way straight away. And the quicker you can bounce back, the better. I was happy with the response. And he was asked what he thinks this game could be a turning point. He said, I think it was a step forward in terms of how we want to play. Of course, assists and goals for some of the offensive players and also good performances. And I think the structure was good today. Interestingly, Christian Romero did a post on his Instagram afterwards saying, this is the way forward, Spurs. I think that's kind of a little nod maybe to the fact that, especially at home, we need to be playing on the front foot and put the opposition teams, on their back foot. And like I said at the very top of this episode, that's what we need to be doing going forward when it comes to Manchester United on Saturday. I've never been more sure of that now. Just to get, more than anything, to get the fans behind us. Even if we do go 1-0 down in that situation, get the fans behind us, knowing that we can still make chances because we've got players on the pitch who are going to link up well together and who are going to push the Man United midfield back. I think some of the Danish journalists asked him some questions. He was asked, what can you say that was positive and good about Copenhagen's team tonight? He said, of course, it doesn't always look super good if you lose 4-0. Don't forget, Thomas Frank is Danish as well, so he's always going to get asked questions about this. He said, but as a coach, I think it's never as good or as bad as you think it is, no matter what game you're in. I don't think we created a chance-by-chance situation in the first half. We created dangerous situations, and I think we could have had 2 chances to score a goal. And of course, if we don't score 3-0, it could be a bit more difficult for us, because there's a bit more room for them. Again, I see a well-trained, structured team that hasn't just broken down, but has the calmness and the plan to keep the ball when you need it in a game like this. So he's very kind about the Danish team, really. He was asked if it was a game that was easier to win than you expected. He said, I didn't expect us to win 4-0 in a game like this. I expected it to be difficult. A combination of knowing that Copenhagen are a difficult opponent, also in Europe and on this pitch. I know it's even more difficult in the park, of course, and it's clear that our offensive game hasn't been super explosive. So that combination could have been tricky, but luckily it went the right way for us. Also, he was asked about Xavi Simons a bit more, how he could have had 3 assists in the first half. Would you say that it was a much better performance from him? He said, I will say 2 things. One, I think it was a step forward. I'm very happy for him. I think it was a good assist, and I agree with you. A little bit more sharpness for him and the other players. I think he probably could have had 1 more assist. I think he found good pockets, good spaces, and I'm really pleased with that. Of course, I understand his disappointment at the moment of being substituted, but it's always about the team, of course. And at that stage, it's 2-0 with us down to 10 men. I thought Xavi Simons showed exactly what I know he's going to be capable of for Tottenham Hotspur. We have to be patient with him. We have to allow him, like we did with Luka Modric, to bulk up, to get bigger, to deal with the Premier League. But while he's got players around him he can form partnerships with, like he did on the left last night, and with Pat Matasar, and a kind of more forward-thinking 6 in Bentancur yesterday, I think we're seeing then, yesterday, what he can do. And he had another long shot. I think he'll score long shots for Spurs as well. And we saw that assist for Brennan Johnson. So very impressive. All right, guys, thank you so much. Sorry for watching and supporting the channel. Please do give this video a like. Do press subscribe if you're not already subscribed for daily Tottenham Hotspur news and more transfer talk as we get closer and closer to the transfer window opening. And also do join me on BigUp for all the watch-alongs. Details of how are in the description box below. Thanks again. Enjoy the glow of a win in the Champions League and enjoy your Wednesdays. Come on, you Spurs.
Get yourself to okjersey.com where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you'd get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video.